Hello, it's Becca again. Um, so it's interesting what we're talking about this week. I actually substitute teach in addition to getting my nonprofits off the ground, and I took a job at Union High School this week um, in a newcomers class, and it actually turned out that they need a second full time teacher. And the first full time teacher is someone I have taken classes with and in this program. So that was fun. I had no idea that she was the original teacher. But yeah, she's up to 40 students in her classroom now. So they're really badly in need of another teacher. And I can't do it right now because of my nonprofits, but they've asked me to do some part time, long term subbing for this class. So at least through February and March, I'm going to be teaching in this newcomers class, and the kids are, I would say, about half and half from Africa and from South America or Central America. There's a lot of kids from Guatemala. There's a lot of kids from the Congo and Rwanda, which also means there's I don't even know. There's probably at least 20 languages, just because there are so many dialects from different villages within, both of these countries. And then there are some other countries as well. I was only there that one day. Um, but anyway, this is just a perfect class for me to be taking right now. And speaking about culture, so I would like this one quote. Well, no, wait, that's not where I wanted to start. I'm sorry. In talking about culture, so culture is a community, or a country, whatever your community is. It's their set of customs, values, certain ways of being, ways of transmitting information, the customs that you observe. And and then I also wanted to start with talking about the difference between education and schooling and kind of work backwards, because I do think there's a real problem in our schools in that there are a lot of teachers that really don't understand that there even are other cultures that that are relevant. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but it's like there's this vague awareness that there are other cultures, but this is the best culture, and or this attitude that this is the culture that you're living in. Therefore, you need to as a student, you need to come at everything from the culture the way that I understand it as the teacher, when it really needs to be the exact opposite. It's our responsibility as teachers to understand where our kids are coming from and what their culture is, what goes on in their homes, because there's not really, you're not going to be effective as a teacher if you can't understand the differences in your cultures. Um, and that's the point, right? The main point is that we want to teach our students things that our culture has deemed relevant. So, and that's a whole other, I'm going down into, what do you call it? The box of worms or whatever. Because I also have a lot of opinions about what's being taught and don't necessarily think that we are teaching the things that need to be taught in terms of what subjects we have. Okay, I'm getting a little off course here. So let me go back to this question. Why is it important to understand students' experiences outside of school? Well, yeah, like I was saying, because you need to be able to understand where a child is coming from in order to reach them. And there could be all kinds of things. People from other cultures might not think that being on time is necessarily an important thing, or the speed at which you are working, maybe. There can even be things like gestures. That's one thing that the teacher was telling me in this newcomers class, that frequently the kids will start out doing well in the morning, but after gym or after lunch, they may come back and there will be some kind of an issue. Something has happened a gym class where one of the kids from Guatemala looked at one of the kids from Rwanda, and the way that they looked was interpreted as being aggressive, but in the Guatemalan culture it's not an aggressive look, or they are not interpreted that way. um I'm rambling tonight. I want a chili cook-off tonight. I just wanted to share that. So yeah, that's why it's important. So she says she's broken up fistfights in her classroom because the kids are not understanding the different cultures, that the classmates' culture is different from theirs. And okay, let's see what else. What is culture and why does it matter in the work of education in school? So I've kind of gone over that already in terms of what culture is. It's a society's customs, values, mores. Why is it essential for educators to understand culture? So I talked about that too. And let's see. Oh, I know where I really wanted to start was with, I believe that I believe that education is not complete without an understanding of other cultures. And when you're talking about the difference between schooling and education, schooling is the subjects that you take at school. It's not as deep, I guess, as education. And education is sort of this is a quote: education is the entire process by which a culture transmits itself across generations. That's really beautiful to me. And it's beautiful to me that other cultures do it in different ways. All right. So I was going to talk about what happened this week with the Catholic kids from Covington, Kentucky, and the Native American man and the Black Israelites. I've been having conversations about this on Facebook with friends of mine, who most of my friends are progressives. Like, it's pretty obvious that I am. But I have a couple of close friends that are a little more conservative, and they actually have kids in Catholic schools. And so one of the points that I made was that, first of all, those MAGA hats, I think what a lot of white America doesn't understand is that, I shouldn't say white America, a certain segment of our population doesn't, because even for me, those MAGA hats are offensive. If I see a MAGA hat, I get nervous. I don't want to assume that you're racist, but I think maybe you are, because I associate it with Trump, and I think that a lot of his policies are racist, right? So first of all, you got this situation where you've got white men, and you have white men, young adults, who are there to participate in a march that's all about taking away reproductive rights for women. And then there's like 100 of them. And yeah, they're younger, but there's only 4 Black Israelites. And then there's a small handful of Native Americans. And what I think my friends just could not wrap their minds around was that for them as white women, they look at these Catholic kids and they see them as kids because they look like their own kids that they send to West Catholic here in Grand Rapids. But to these 4 Black Israelites and this handful of Native Americans, they look like the same white men that have been disenfranchising them for centuries. And I think that that's something that's hard for people to understand, is to get into the perspective or the viewpoint of somebody that is from a culture that's different from you. So I think as teachers, it's a sacred responsibility for us to understand that, first of all, that there are other ways of being in the world. And those ways of being are not, just because they're different doesn't make them lesser than what our culture is. That you can hold both, or a multitude of cultures. Now I'm going to sound kind of heebie-jeebie, but you can hold all of them in your heart or in your spirit as being equally valid and as being precious. And and still have your own culture and your way of doing things. I just think it's really hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around. But it's important. It's so important, especially when you're working in urban schools where you are going to have students from a multitude of different cultures. So let me see. I had a couple of notes jotted down. I just wanted to make sure. I think I got everything. So I'll sign off. Sorry, I was kind of rambly. Hopefully it makes sense. And have a great night.